The first time I saw little Rika, she was hiding something behind her back. Now you have to understand Varkun cubs are never, ever shy. They are six-legged, horn-tipped bundles of pure chaos. They climb walls, they steal ration packets, and they roar with absolute joy at anything that moves. But Rika? She stood frozen solid in front of me, her tail curled nervously around her little paws, and her eyes were just huge, glowing like molten amber. "Human Kara?" she squeaked, her voice barely a whisper. I brought something." I crouched down, getting on her level. "From me?" She nodded so hard her whole body wiggled, then extended a trembling paw. In it lay a single, slightly crushed orange flower. The petals were bent, and the stem looked a little chewed, but it was still intact. My chest tightened in that way it does when you see something unbearably sweet. "Rika," I said softly, "it's beautiful." She puffed up with pride, her shyness vanishing in a puff of smoke. "I found it by the deep crater." "It matched your hair." I smiled, my heart feeling about 3 sizes too big, and that's when half the fortress exploded into motion. Not literally, thank goodness, but it was close. Because standing right behind Rika, completely unnoticed until that very second, were 3 members of the Varkun elite guard. We're talking absolute behemoths in polished black armor, with blades strapped to their arms and their helmets etched with the sigils of ancient wars. These are the kinds of warriors who could punch clean through a steel bulkhead and barely even notice they'd done it. All 3 of them were frozen in what I can only describe as pure, unadulterated horror. The moment they realized I'd actually accepted the flower, they snapped to attention in perfect, terrifying unison. "Human Kara!" Commander Threx barked, his voice echoing through the corridor. "We deeply apologize for the cub's inadequate offering." "Inadequate?" I blinked, completely confused. Threx lowered his head so abruptly the floor actually trembled. "The first flower given to a chosen friend is a sacred cultural act among our people." "Ah," I said, slowly putting the pieces together. "And you think this one isn't good enough?" At my words, Rika's ears drooped, her whole body deflated. My heart cracked right down the middle. The elite guard saw this and immediately went into full-blown panic mode. "No, no, honored human," another soldier blurted out, his voice trembling. "The cub has excellent instincts, truly remarkable. But tradition demands the first flower be the most perfect bloom across the entire planet," Threx declared, his voice ringing with ancient duty. "And this one," he pointed a massive armored finger dramatically at the little wilted gift in my hand, "is merely decent." A tiny whimper escaped from Rika. I shot a glare at the towering warriors. "It's perfect," I said, my voice firm. The guards exchanged horrified glances over my head. One of them whispered, loud enough for me to hear, "She doesn't understand the ritual of worthiness." Another one muttered, "We have failed the child. We have failed the tradition." And a third hissed, "Begin immediate corrective measures." Before I could even open my mouth to argue, every warrior snapped up straight. "Elite guard deploy." And just like that, they were gone. A blur of black armor and grim determination, vanishing down the hallway. 2 hours later, the entire planet was in chaos. I was sitting with Rika, teaching her how to braid flower stems together. It was her idea when the fortress alarms blared to life. But these weren't danger alarms, not evacuation orders. No, this was something far, far worse, a royal mandate broadcast. The massive screens all around us flickered on. A dignified Varkun administrator appeared, his fur immaculate, his ceremonial robes trailing behind him like smoke. "Attention all citizens," he announced, his voice smooth and authoritative. "By order of the High Command, effective immediately, all inhabitants are to assist the elite guard in the acquisition of the Supreme Bloom." Beside him, Commander Threx appeared on screen, his battle armor gleaming under the lights. He held a data tablet and read from it with the solemnity of a judge passing sentence. "A human has been offered a flower by a cub. The offering was insufficient. Therefore, the honor of our people is in question." A dramatic swell of music filled the air. You could feel the tension across the entire planet. "We must find the greatest flower our world has to offer," Threx continued. "This is a planet-wide search for perfection." Gasps echoed from the live feeds shown on screen. Rika stared up at me, her amber eyes wide with worry. Did I do bad? I shook my head and pulled her into a hug. "You did amazing. They're just a little dramatic." She giggled into my shirt. "Varkun adults are very dramatic," For the next 5 hours, the entire Varkun population scoured mountainsides, deserts, sheer cliffs, and even deep underwater caverns. The broadcast was flooded with constant, frantic reports. Team Gamma has encountered a field of carnivorous vines. 2 vines have been eaten. No Varkun casualties. Team Solar retrieved a cluster of glowing moon blossoms. They subsequently exploded. Casualties: 4 eyebrows lost. Team Deepclaw found a crystal petal cluster. The cluster attempted to impose taxation. Negotiations failed. By nightfall, a convoy of armored transports rolled up to the fortress. Each one carried a different, mind-bogglingly incredible flower. There were massive ones, iridescent ones, some that floated in midair, others that were bioluminescent, and one that kept trying to recite what sounded like very bad poetry. The elite guard lined them all up before me in the grand hall. "Human Kara," Threx announced, his chest puffed out with pride. "Choose the supreme bloom." I looked at the absolutely incredible, almost magical arrangement before me. And then I looked down at little Rika, who was still clutching her slightly wilted orange flower. "I already chose," I said quietly. You could have heard a pin drop. Gasps rippled through the assembled crowd. I'm pretty sure one of the guards in the back actually fainted. I lifted the original crushed bloom. This one. This one means something. She picked it for me. That makes it superior to all of these. A profound silence fell over the hall. Then, Rika stepped forward, her little cheeks glowing with a soft, happy light. "See?" she said, her voice clear and proud. "I told you humans were nice." The guards, from Commander Threx down to the lowest-ranking soldier, all bowed. But they didn't just bow to me, they bowed to her. "The cub has already achieved what our entire planet could not," Threx declared, his voice thick with emotion. "She gave a gift worthy, not because it was perfect, but because it was hers." Rika puffed up with pride again, looking like the hero of the hour. "Does this mean I did the ritual right?" Threx placed a massive armored hand over his heart. "Perfectly." And from that day on, every Varkun cub was told the story of the human who chose the crushed flower, not because it was the best, but because it had been offered with love. And that, they learned, was the most perfect gift of all. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tailies from across the galaxy. See you next time. The morning after what everyone's now calling the Great Flower Incident, I woke up to some serious pounding on my door. I mean, heavy, rhythmic, insistent pounding. The kind that screams, "Open up." Or we're assuming you've been kidnapped by interdimensional beetles. I peeked through the cracked door, and sure enough, 5 elite guards stood there. Armor polished, weapons ready, and faces as serious as a supernova. Commander Threx, their leader, got right to the point. "Human Kara, we require your presence." I tried to play it cool. "Is something wrong?" Threx hesitated. Now that was terrifying. Varkun elite guards do not hesitate. They charge, they roar, they smash things, they bow, or they even faint dramatically if the situation calls for it. But hesitate? Never. "The Royal Council has convened," he finally said. "They wish to speak about the flower event." "Oh no," I muttered, my heart sinking. "Did someone blow up a garden?" 16 gardens, Threx corrected me deadpan. "But that is not the issue, right? Of course it wasn't. Just a casual 16 gardens." "Then what is the issue?" I asked, bracing myself. Threx cleared his throat, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Your choice yesterday has altered a sacred tradition across our entire world. The Council is concerned." Before I could even process that, one of the soldiers behind him whispered, "They wrote 17 new laws overnight." A third one added, "3 of them contradict each other." A fourth chimed in, "And one bans triangles for reasons that are unclear." I just pinched the bridge of my nose and sighed. "Take me to the council." The council chamber was exactly as over-the-top as you'd expect from the Varkun. Massive high ceilings, floating lanterns that cast a warm glow, and giant carved banners depicting ancient heroes punching asteroids or outrunning volcanic eruptions. Subtlety was definitely not a Varkun's strong suit. And there, in the front row, was little Rika, the cub who started all this. Her tail was twitching nervously, and she was flanked by her parents, who looked like a walking mix of pride and sheer terror. At the center of the grand chamber stood the 12 counselors, draped in elaborate robes and wearing enough jewelry to buy a small moon. Counselor Veril, the eldest among them, banged his staff on the floor. Human Kara! You have brought our traditions into unprecedented upheaval. I held up a hand. Look, if this is about the flower, it is all about the flower. All 12 of them thundered in unison. The sound wave literally made Rika jump, and I shot them a glare. They immediately softened their expressions. Explain the rationale behind your choice, Varl said, his voice now much quieter so that we may understand. I knelt down beside Rika so I was at her level. She gave me something she picked herself. It was from her. That makes it special. It makes it better than anything found in some fancy planet-wide search or dug out of a crystal cave. Rika blushed so hard her little ear tips started glowing blue. It was adorable. The counselors huddled together, whispering furiously. I could just make out bits and pieces. She values intent, not perfection. Is that even allowed? It's revolutionary. Potentially dangerous. Potentially beautiful. Finally, Varl turned back to me. This human logic is compelling, but it disrupts our ritual of worthiness. What is the ritual, exactly? I asked. Varl sighed, a deep, weary sound. When a Varkun wishes to form a bond with a friend, an ally, or a potential mate, they present the finest flower they can find. It's a symbol of their devotion, their perseverance, and their worth. I blinked. My brain was short-circuiting. Wait, are you telling me? Before I could finish that terrifying thought, Rika's mother quickly raised a paw. Before you panic, humans are not being proposed to by cubs. For cubs, it's a purely platonic gesture. I let out a huge breath I didn't realize I was holding. Oh, good, but still overwhelmingly significant, Rika's father added, puffing out his chest with pride. Fantastic, just fantastic. Varl lifted his staff again. Your acceptance of her imperfect flower means the ritual must evolve. Intent and emotion must now be considered of greater value than mere material quality. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Someone shouted, but this is unprecedented. We can't just rewrite thousands of years of custom. That's when Threx, who had been silent this whole time, spoke up from behind me. We already have 12 updated laws, he said grimly, including the one about triangles. Varl just deflated. Yes, that. Rika tugged on my sleeve, her voice small. Kara? Did I break culture? I couldn't help but smile. I kissed her forehead. No, sweetie. You helped it grow. The council fell silent. Every eye was on us. Then, with a resounding crack, Varl struck the floor with his staff one last time. So it shall be. From this day forward, the flower rite shall be judged not by its perfection, but by the sincerity of the heart that offers it. A huge roar of approval filled the hall. Well, mostly approval. A few of the more traditionalist members fainted dramatically, but for the Varkun, that was pretty much business as usual. After the council adjourned, we found a massive, excited crowd had gathered outside. Children were holding small, simple bouquets. Adults were carrying these massive, ornate, almost alien-looking flowers. I even saw one elderly Varkun holding a plant that was clearly carnivorous and was actively trying to bite passers-by. Classic Varkun. I stepped forward and raised my hands to quiet the crowd. Hey, everyone! You don't need the biggest or the rarest flower, I said, my voice carrying over the plaza. Just give something that means something to you, the crowd murmured, looking at their flowers with new eyes. Suddenly, a booming voice shouted, Human Kureya! We all turned. An entire battalion of elite guards was marching toward us, hauling giant crates. Commander Threx saluted. We have prepared a festival. A what? I asked, completely bewildered. A planet-wide flower festival, he declared, honoring the new rite. He gestured for a guard to open one of the crates. It was filled with ribbons, lanterns, flower petals, glowing orbs, and enough glitter to suffocate an entire army. Rika gasped beside me. A festival for my flower? Threx looked down at her and gave the faintest hint of a smile. For your heart, he corrected. And that night, under the soft glow of lanterns and drifting petals, through the sounds of music and laughter, Rika handed me a new flower. It was fresh, bright, and perfectly whole. I picked this one too, she whispered. But I still like the first one best. Me too, I said, hugging her close. Across the plaza, I saw the elite guard raise their weapons in a silent salute. It just goes to show you, sometimes humanity wins again, not with our strength, not with our tech, but with something infinitely more powerful, A simple act of kindness that can reshape an entire world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story. It's a diva. It was Supreme Bloom, I said carefully. Your creation is incredible. But the gift Rika gave me was from the heart. The flower drew itself up like a scorned monarch. So I lack heart? No, I assured it. But you weren't given with love. A beat of silence. The flower deflated. Like, literally wilted, its petals drooping dramatically. The elite guard gasped as one. Someone fainted, knocking over a stack of crates. Threx dropped to one knee. Honored Bloom, remain strong. The bloom sniffled a tiny sound like cracking ice. I am insufficient? Your average planet-dominating, sapient, shining ultraflower having an existential crisis was not something they taught you to handle in the Alliance Outreach program. So I reached into the pod and rested my hand gently against one of its vines. You're not insufficient. You're incredible. But gifts have meaning because of the giver, not the rarity of the object. The flower perked slightly. Rika gave me something she found because she cared, I continued. You were found because someone panicked and thought bigger was better. Threx looked away in shame. I see, the flower murmured. Love, I wish for that. Then it turned its bright crystalline gaze on Rika. Cub, would you accept me as a flower friend? Rika froze. Her ears twitched. Her tail curled. She looked up at me. Kara? Can I be friends with the dramatic flower? It's asking very politely, I whispered. Rika puffed out her chest proudly. Okay. But only if you play with us and don't try to eat anyone. I do not require eating, the flower said solemnly. Good, Rika declared. We will practice braids. The bloom brightened with such radiance that 2 elite guards had to shield their eyes. I would like braids. And that's how the most powerful botanical specimen ever discovered ended up sitting in the courtyard while a 6-legged cub braided tiny ribbons into its vines. The elite guards stood around them like anxious nannies guarding a diplomatic treasure. Threx leaned toward me. Human Kara, you have once again prevented planetary crisis, I snorted. By introducing the world's deadliest flower to arts and crafts? If it keeps the peace, Threx said gravely, we shall supply ribbons indefinitely. That evening, as the sun dipped below the crystalline horizon, Rika ran up to me holding something small and fragile. A new flower, not crushed this time. Perfectly picked, lovingly chosen. For you, she said. Because you helped the big fancy bloom feel better. I took it gently. Thank you, Rika. Behind her, the supreme bloom floated serenely, vines braided, ribbons fluttering like royal banners. You are, Threx declared. Forever honored among our people, I smiled, lifting Rika into a hug. I just treated everyone with kindness. Threx shook his head. Human Kara. Kindness is not just anything. It is revolution, and somewhere behind us, the Supreme Bloom sighed contentedly. I like braids. By the time the Supreme Bloom had finished its 3rd round of ribbon braids, the entire fortress had relaxed. The guards no longer flinched when it glowed. The citizens had stopped gathering nervously, and Rika had adopted it like a new sibling. But as you know, peace on Varkun Prime never lasts long. On the 5th morning, alarms thundered through the fortress. I'm not talking about festival announcements or those dramatic cultural upheaval alerts. I mean actual bone-chilling danger alarms. Commander Threx stormed into the courtyard, his armor clattering, sword crackling with kinetic energy. Human Kara! Cub Rika, Supreme Bloom, we must evacuate at once. The bloom perked up, its vines wiggling. Is this a threat? Rika gasped, her eyes wide with excitement. Is it a big creature? With claws? Threx shook his head, his expression grim. No, he growled. Worse. Just then, the courtyard shook violently. A roar echoed across the sky, a deep, vibrating, architectural threatening roar that you could feel in your teeth. Threx pointed a shaky claw upward. The Titanshade pollinators are coming, Rika froze. The what now? I blinked, confused. Pollinators? You mean, like bees? Threx stared at me in absolute horror, as if I just suggested using a supernova as a nightlight. These are not bees, Human Kara. They are continental megafauna that feed on powerful floral signatures. Behind him, the Supreme Bloom made a tiny, terrified squeaking sound. A massive shadow passed overhead, then another, and then dozens more. Vast creatures, like a cross between giant manta rays and glowing lanternfish, drifted through the atmosphere. Each one was the size of a small city block, their bioluminescent wings shimmering with what looked like cosmic pollen. I have to admit they were beautiful, they were majestic, and they were all turning directly toward the fortress courtyard. Straight for our new friend, the supreme bloom. The bloom visibly wilted in terror, its petals drooping. They crave my radiance. Threx snapped into action, his voice booming with authority. Elite guard, defensive formations! Shields up, protect the cub and the human. In seconds, armored warriors surrounded us in a dense, impenetrable circle. Cannons emerged from the fortress towers, and shimmering energy shields snapped into place over our heads. One of the pollinators descended, its mandibles opening like some gentle but utterly unstoppable harvester. Rekka clutched my leg, her little voice trembling. Kara, they want to eat our flower friend. The supreme bloom shivered, its vines wrapping around itself. I do not wish to be consumed. That's when I stepped forward. Wait! Threx looked horrified. Human Kara, do not negotiate with sky beasts. But I was already walking past him, towards the edge of the shield. Because one thing stood out to me. The pollinators didn't look violent, or angry, or even hungry. They looked confused. The largest pollinator descended fully, its immense form blocking out the sun. Its wings trailed cosmic dust that sparkled like a personal nebula. Massive, intelligent eyes blinked slowly, studying me with an ancient curiosity. I raised my hand, keeping my movements slow and calm. It's okay, I said gently. No one here wants to hurt you. The creature tilted its city-sized head. I continued, raising my voice a bit, hoping it understood my tone more than my actual words. The bloom I isn't here for feeding. It wants to live. It wants friends. It wants braids. Behind me, I heard Rika whisper proudly, "It does like braids." The pollinator let out a deep, resonant hum. The others echoed it, creating a soft harmonic wave that vibrated right through my bones. I suddenly realized this wasn't a sound of aggression, it was communication. Carefully, I reached into the supreme bloom's central pod and plucked a single loose petal one that had naturally fallen off earlier. I held it up as an offering. The giant creature leaned down. And then, so gently, it touched the petal with the tips of its mandibles. A flash of soft blue light passed between them. The creature hummed again, a warmer, more contented sound this time. Then, with a surprising tenderness for something that could flatten a mountain, it nudged my shoulder. Threx whispered behind me, his voice filled with pure disbelief. Human Kara, you just initiated a pollinator acceptance ritual. I turned. I what? Threx swallowed hard. You told a Titanshade pollinator, hello, in their own language. The massive creature nuzzled me again, like a glowing, building-sized horse. I saw exactly 3 of the elite soldiers faint dead away. Then the Titan rose, its body pulsing with new, vibrant colors. It turned to face the supreme bloom, and bowed. The other pollinators followed suit, dipping in graceful, silent arcs across the sky. The supreme bloom trembled, but this time not with fear. They acknowledged my autonomy, and with one last, beautiful, harmonic farewell, the creatures drifted back into the sky, returning to the upper atmosphere like a fleet of buoyant, living constellations. For a moment there was silence. Utter, stunned silence. Then Rika's voice shattered it, filled with pure joy. Kara made friends with the sky flower monsters. The entire fortress erupted in cheers. Threx dropped to one knee before me. Human Kara, you have achieved the impossible. Twice, in 1 week. You've soothed the supreme bloom and negotiated peace with Titanshade megafauna. I just shrugged. I just talked to them nicely. That, he said with reverence, is your deadliest power. Rika tugged on my sleeve, looking up at me with a mischievous grin. Kara, since you're so good at making big things calm, could you help calm my dad when he sees my test scores next week? I snorted with laughter. Okay, kid. We'll train for that mission. Behind us, the supreme bloom glowed softly, its petals unfurling once more. May I resume braids? Rika saluted proudly. Yes! Today we learned double loops. And as the elite guard watched in awe, The sky still shimmering with the drifting pollinators and ribbons fluttering from the bloom's vines, I realized something profound. Varkun Prime didn't just accept kindness. It thrived on it. And somehow, I become the galactic ambassador of be nice until the giant monsters chill out. Humanity, first, once again not by force, not by tech, but by the unstoppable, universe-altering power of simple kindness. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more adventures from across the galaxy. See you next time.